the Unfinished Sutra, in the misty highlands of rural Japan, where ancient forests clung to the slopes of Mount Fuji like forgotten secrets, lay a small village called Yamagiri. The villagers lived simple lives, tending rice paddies and honoring ancestral spirits through Shinto rituals. But they steered clear of places deemed taboo. Deep in a secluded valley behind the village stood an ancient temple, abandoned for nearly 50 years, known as Enryoji. It had once been a haven for Zen monks, but now it was a crumbling ruin, overgrown with vines and moss. Locals whispered that the last abbot, Zen master Hokuman, had halted midway through chanting an ancient scroll called the Shinome Sutra, the Death Enlightenment Sutra. No one knew why, only that ever since, on the full moon nights of the Obon festival in August, eerie chants echoed from the temple. Not one voice, but hundreds overlapping, an unfinished incantation from the underworld. Ethan Harper, a 25-year-old American graduate student in cultural anthropology from the University of California, had stumbled upon this legend in an obscure online forum dedicated to Japanese folklore. Intrigued by ancient rituals and the supernatural elements woven into Eastern philosophies, Ethan saw it as the perfect subject for his thesis on Zen practices in Japanese folk religion. Armed with a backpack containing a digital recorder, notebooks, and a high-powered flashlight, he had no idea this expedition would unravel his sanity. The bus dropped him off at the winding dirt path leading into Yamagiri. As dusk fell, a light drizzle made the air chill and heavy. Villagers eyed him warily, as if he were an outsider bringing misfortune. The village elder, a wiry man in his 70s, shook his head when Ethan inquired about the temple. "You shouldn't go there, Gaijin. The temple is cursed." Master Hokuman stopped the sutra mid-chant, leaving a curse behind. "Anyone who tampers with it dies horribly." Ethan dismissed it as superstition with a polite smile and pressed for directions. Eventually, the elder pointed him to the home of Hiroshi Yamamoto, the village shaman, who knew the temple's history best. Yamamoto, 65 years old, lived in a modest wooden house adorned with talismans and carved wooden masks depicting Oni demons. When Ethan knocked, the old man was seated before a small altar, fingering prayer beads. "You're here for the sutra, aren't you?" Yamamoto asked immediately, his voice raspy like wind through a graveyard. Ethan nodded, surprised. Yamamoto recounted the tale with grave solemnity. Long ago, Enryoji housed the Shinome Sutra, an ancient scroll from the Heian period used to guide lost souls to enlightenment. Master Hokuman chanted halfway, then froze, his face pale as death, and vanished. The temple was abandoned. Villagers hear the chants on Obon full moons, but no one dares enter. Once, a group of curious youths went up. Only one returned, mad, muttering the unfinished verses endlessly. Ethan scribbled notes furiously, his heart racing with excitement. Yamamoto warned, "Don't touch the sutra. It's no ordinary scripture. It seals something... Not human, not demon, but faceless, without form or face, waiting for someone to finish the chant and set it free." The next morning, Ethan met Miko Tanaka. In her 40s, she was the only survivor who had lived in the temple as a child, now residing in a small hermitage on the village outskirts, where she performed purification rites. Her face was etched with hardship, her eyes deep pools of lingering trauma. "I remember that night," she said, her voice trembling. "I was just a girl of 10, sweeping the courtyard. The master chanted in the main hall, the sound of the wooden fish and bells echoing. Then it stopped abruptly, a terrifying silence. After that, whispers filled my head, hundreds of voices chanting at once. I fled, but the memory haunts me still." Ethan urged her for more details. She described the sutra, a yellowed scroll in antique kanji, mixed with Sanskrit, stored in a lacquered box engraved with lotus motifs. "Don't read it," she advised. "An interrupted ritual creates a void for evil to seep in. Zen teaches that sutras bridge the living and the dead. If unfinished, the gate cracks open, inviting things that should not exist." Despite the warnings, Ethan resolved to visit the temple. He set out at dawn, carrying water and a protective amulet Yamamoto had reluctantly given him. The path was rugged, flanked by dense woods where birdsong sounded like ominous warnings. Upon arrival, the temple loomed like a specter in the fog. The torii gate was dilapidated, moss-encrusted, and the guardian statues on either side had cracked faces, exposing fissures like bleeding wounds. Ethan pushed through the creaking doors, assaulted by the stale scent of incense mixed with moldy decay, making him cough. The main hall was pitch black, pierced only by faint rays through the holed roof. The central altar held a Buddha statue, but its face was shattered, leaving hollow eyes staring down. Incense burners were filled with dust, streaked with dark crimson stains like dried blood. Ethan switched on his flashlight, scanning the area. On a rotting wooden shelf, he found the lacquered box. Just as Miko had described, his pulse quickened as he opened it. Inside lay the Shi no Mai Sutra, its paper aged and brittle, the script faintly glowing. He unrolled it on the floor, documenting the characters were peculiar, seeming to shift under the beam, wriggling like maggots on carrion. Ethan blinked, attributing it to fatigue. He read the first lines aloud in translated English. The gate of death enlightenment opens to endless void. Suddenly, a whisper echoed in his mind, soft but distinct. Void of the spirit. Ethan startled, glancing around. Empty. He chuckled nervously, blaming the wind. But as he rolled it up, the whisper returned, louder. Spirit of nothingness, ... He shook his head, trying to dispel it. On the way back to the village, it persisted, repeating the unfinished passage, like an insidious lure. That night, staying at Yamamoto's house, Ethan concealed the whispers from his host. Lying on a futon, he tried to sleep, but the chants intensified in his skull, relentless. It wasn't auditory. It emanated from within his psyche. He sat up, sweating profusely. Just hallucination, he muttered. But resistance amplified it. Hundreds of voices, men, women, children, elders, all intoning. Faceless soul, awaiting completion. By morning, Ethan couldn't resist returning to the temple. He encountered Miko at the village gate, her expression fraught with concern. You've heard it, haven't you? The chants. They'll compel you to continue. She shared more of her past. As a child, I touched the sutra, and the whispers began. I cast it aside and ran, but they pursued me for years. Only chanting other sutras brought temporary peace. Ethan ignored her. Back at the temple, he spread the sutra and began reading. The script truly moved now, twisting like living entities. He recited aloud, voice quivering. The gate of death enlightenment opens to endless void of the spirit, ... The mental whispers merged, urging him onward. With each word, his body felt alien, hands turning pages without volition, lips forming syllables uncontrollably. Outside, the sky darkened prematurely despite midday. Winds howled through cracks. Temple bells tolled unbidden. The wooden fish drummed from nowhere. Ethan hallucinated. The shattered Buddha grinned. Fresh blood oozed from incense burners. He tried to stop, but the chants hammered like needles in his brain. Stop, he screamed. Yet his mouth continued. Soul without face, awaken. Yamamoto and Miko, alarmed, ascended to the temple at twilight. They found Ethan in the main hall, eyes glazed, murmuring the verses. Yamamoto shouted, "Halt, don't finish it." But Ethan was deaf to them. Miko clutched her beads, chanting counter-sutras to dispel the curse. But Ethan's voice drowned everything. The climax surged as Ethan neared the end. The script morphed into grotesque, faceless visages. The faceless spirit. The temple quaked, walls splintering, a putrid stench rising from the earth. Ethan felt a pull from the scroll, as if the entity burrowed into his soul. He resisted, biting his tongue until blood flowed, but his lips persisted. Completion's gate, unlock, ... Yamamoto lunged, seizing the sutra, his hands blistering as if scorched by hellfire. Miko wept, revealing the full memory. Master Hokuman stopped because he glimpsed the faceless spirit, an ancient entity sealed since the samurai wars, devouring the chanter's essence. He sacrificed himself to interrupt, keeping the gate shut. Too late. Ethan uttered the final line. Endless void, faceless spirit, arise. Silence enveloped everything. Then, a formless shadow spread, consuming light. Yamamoto and Miko escaped, but Ethan remained, convulsing, his face distorting into blankness. The next dawn, villagers discovered him dead in a chanting pose. The sutra beside him, interrupted midway, mirroring Master Hok. Henceforth, on open full moons, the chants resound, now including Ethan's voice among the hundreds, beckoning the next victim. The cycle endures, the curse eternal.